to Wildwood. I'm Ray at Back to Wilderness. For today's video I'm going to create another video that shows another step in the evolution of a campsite, or where you'd be living in the wood if that was the case, and how to do another little step up in the evolutionary ladder. Now, if you're in the woods for any length of time, any period, you're going to need to at some point process wood for either firewood, kindling, making feather sticks, that kind of thing, or potentially you're going to need to have a way of processing wood for building shelters and something a bit more substantial. As well as that, you may have a need to create stumps to sit on, that kind of thing, and benches. But throughout those examples of the need to process, there's a range in the size of the type of wood that you'll be processing. So for things up to this kind of size, you know, sort of just a bit bigger than your thumb, depending on if it's wet or green or dead wood, you could potentially, if you had only a knife, that kind of profile, use your knife and batten and use a variety of cuts, Rosetta cut, etc., to process that and achieve what you need to. For anything larger than that, you're going to need to start thinking about something a bit more hefty to get it into a situation where you can process that safely. So what we've got here is something about wrist thick. So anything wrist thick up to sort of forearm, bicep, depending on your profile, your size, you're going to need to be able to actually get that into workable chunks and sizes, whether it's to fell it in the first place or just to actually work with it. So you could use something like this, which is a folding Bespoke Laplander saw. Very useful saw, very compact. The teeth are designed to cut both on the push and the pull. My personal preference is the Laplander Bespoke, very good bit of kit. There are others out there, but that's what I've always found works for me. The blades are replaceable, etc. So moving on from that, if you happen to have a chunk like this that you needed to process, you needed to fell from start to finish, you might want that for firewood, you might want that for building some kind of significant shelter. But again, neither of these tools are going to allow you to process that, certainly not easily anyway. The experience might tell different, but not easily. So you might need for an axe. This is my Hold 4 hunting axe, classic. Had this for many years, very good axe, very sharp. You could use that quite easily for felling your trees, and certainly you can use an axe for almost anything. You can carve bowls and spoons, all kinds of things with that. But each tool has a certain sort of practical use and purpose. So once you've felled your tree, then what do you do with it? Again, you can't use these, they're too small. You'd use something much like the Bespoke bow saw, with interchangeable blades, and effectively you get green wood and dead wood blades that you can use for processing whatever wood you've got. So each tool, the right tool for the job, you've heard before elsewhere, not just from me, but that you could use for processing things for this kind of size. Okay, so in order to do that safely, you need some kind of your Forest Black & Decker workbench, effectively, and it's that I'm going to show you how to make today. It's very simple. I've walked around and I've managed to find the pieces that I need. You need one significantly kind of large log, a bit bigger than your thigh in diameter. Lengthwise, that can vary, there's no sort of set size. And then you need some uprights that you're going to peg into the ground at intervals. And that will allow you to lay logs of that size across those sort of pegged in uprights. They'll hold it firm, and then you're able to sort of work in between them and process the wood that you need. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do today. It doesn't take long. If you have the right tools for the right job, life becomes a lot easier, and then suddenly you're one more step up that evolutionary ladder in living and indeed surviving and thriving in a woodland. So what I've got here, we've got our tool tree, T-O-O-L. This is where effectively we're going to hang our bow saw when it's not being used, and everything will be near this tree. So when people are processing wood or they have a need to do something like that, they effectively will be able to come to this location, which is a designated tool tree area, and they'll be able to work here. I've located this chunky piece of wood here. This is going to be the base of the workhorse, or the sawhorse, where we're going to peg in either side one of the uprights. So I've got 6 of them. It will give us 2 or 3 pairs of uprights that we'll work between. So here they are, the uprights. What I'm going to need to do is process each one of them. I've got a beveled end up here, which is going to be hammered into the ground, or the hammered end. This is the spike end, which is been pointed, and this is the bit that goes into the ground rather. The other end gets hit by the hammer. Incidentally, what are we going to use to hammer it? Well, what I've found is this piece here. Nice hefty mallet, if you like. That's going to be used. I hold it upright, swing it the other way, and then it's going to be used to pound it into the ground. So it should be okay. The ground's not too hard here, so I'm fairly confident that that's going to go in fairly easy. So I'm going to go off and prep the uprights. I'm going to point them, bevel them. The reason you bevel, by the way, is to stop the wood from splaying as you hit it. But we'll see how we go. Some of these are slightly rotten, so I might have to come back and redo them. Everything's been beveled, everything's been spiked. I've got the log on the ground down here, so I'm just about to basically pound this lot in and finish off. So I should be done with this shortly. So I've pegged everything in. I've driven everything using the large stump that we had, and I've just given it a test run. So it functions perfectly well. There we go. That's the sawhorse, perfectly capable of sawing things that are sort of thigh thick, if you like. Obviously, if there was a need to have anything bigger than that, then perhaps I might want to make one with slightly sturdier vertical stakes. But for now, what we need here, this is perfectly functional. And again, it's really to give you an idea of how to get things up and running. So now we're able to process larger, bigger, better pieces of wood. There's not much else we can't really do, really, so we're fairly well established here now.